Hey guys, welcome to Wrestling Days and welcome to a very different video. But welcome also to an excited Wrestling Days because we are only days away from WWE Summerslam 2018, the biggest show of the summer. The card looks fantastic. We're getting Roman Reigns against Brock Lesnar. We're getting Alexa Bliss versus Ronda Rousey. We're getting Daniel Bryan versus The Miz, and so many other great matches. But what jumped out at me was the fact that there is a lot of wrestlers that aren't going to be on this show. WWE have got such a great roster at the moment that it would be impossible to put everybody onto the SummerSlam show. So it got me thinking, using those wrestlers that are going to miss out, could I create a second SummerSlam? And I really think you can. I really think you could have a fantastic second SummerSlam. I would love to know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think what I'm about to show you is any good? Do you think that some of the matches might be entertaining? What would you change? What would your second SummerSlam look like? So here is mine. I would start the show with a 205 ladder match. This would be for the 205 Live Money in the Bank. Now, of course, none of my matches have got titles involved because all the titles will be defended on the proper SummerSlam show. So I'm going to have to use a lot of stipulations and gimmicks. And this first match is a ladder match for the 205 Live Money in the Bank. The wrestlers that I've got in this: Lio Rush, Kalisto, TJP, Akira Tozawa, Hideo Itami, Mustafa Ali, Buddy Murphy, Gran Metalik. I really think these guys could put on such an exciting opener. They're all really good in the air. And imagine them being in a ladder match. Imagine some of the spots they could come up with. And I really think this would be a very exciting opener to the show. Next up, I would have Raw versus SmackDown Live. Raw would be represented with the Authors of Pain, a new team that have just come up from NXT. They would be taking on an established team. Really, you could call them legends, the Usos. So I would have the Authors of Pain versus the Usos. It's very much like old versus new. It's SmackDown versus Raw. Both of them fantastic teams. They would put on a brilliant match, and it should just keep that momentum going after the opening ladder match. Next up, I would want something very different, a real change of pace. I would go with Woken Matt Hardy taking on Tyler Breeze. Now, the reason I would do this is because I think that Woken universe is a lot of fun. I think there's a lot of characters involved, and you want someone that's known for having a good sense of humour. You want someone that is fun, and Tyler Breeze is absolutely that. Tyler Breeze, I think, would be brilliant if you had like a bit filmed at the Hardy compound, and then like they got in a car. Maybe it would be a little bit like, do you remember that Roddy Piper Goldust match where they did a little bit backstage and then we saw them drive to the arena and then they finished the match in the ring? Maybe I would do something like that, so you'd have something on the screens showing you them at the Hardy compound, but then they would get in a car, they would come to the arena, the match would be finished later in the show. Next up, I would have a women's match. I would have Asuka, who I cannot believe isn't on the SummerSlam card, taking on Ruby Riott. The build for this would have seen the Riott squad constantly attacking Asuka. So Asuka calls out the leader, Ruby Riott, and they go one-on-one. I think this could be a lot of fun. I think the Riott squad could come down. Maybe Asuka could have the likes of Kairi Sane and a few other NXT talents come down and, help her defend herself against the Riot Squad. Maybe Asuka picks up a victory here. I'm not sure how it would play out, but I do think it would be a lot of fun, and I think the story and the build towards this match could also be a lot of fun. Next up, I would have a war. I would have Sanity versus WWE Legends. So Sanity wouldn't know who they would be facing. It would just be a collection of legends. And I would have Chris Jericho, The Big Show, and Goldust. I would have those three come down, taking on Sanity. Again, similar to Authors of Pain versus the Usos, you've got old versus new. And I think this would just be a really interesting match. Plus also the pop that Jericho would get when he came down to the ring. You know, we haven't seen Jericho in ages. We haven't seen Big Show in ages. There's a lot of affection for the Goldust character. I think this could be a lot of fun. Next up, I would have Bray Wyatt taking on an open challenge. So Bray Wyatt could be talking about how he knows of someone that has been consumed with darkness. He knows of someone that seems to have been consumed by Sister Abigail. And this person has changed. They're not like they used to be. He wants to try and set them free, like how Matt Hardy set him free. Everyone would be speculating as to who this person was, and it would be Bray Wyatt versus Neville. This would be the return of Neville. Neville, who is consumed by darkness. I would have Neville go over here as well. I think Neville deserves to be, you know, near the top of the card. Maybe WWE wouldn't want to do that because of the fact that Neville walked out of the business. Totally understand that. I mean, Triple H recently said that he was one of the best wrestlers in the world. So clearly they do want to do something with Neville. I think this would be exceptional, and the story would make sense as well. Next up, I would debut the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships. This would be a ladder match, very reminiscent to the ladder matches that we had at WrestleMania 16, WrestleMania 17. And honestly, I don't know what the matches would turn out like, but I would give them the opportunity to steal the show. And I would say that to them, go out there, steal the show. I would have the Iconics take on the Riot Squad, take on what used to be Absolution. So Billie Kay, Peyton Royce versus Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan versus Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. One of those teams would become the first ever women's tag team champions. What you could also do is see if the Bella Twins would be interested in coming back. Very similar to how the Hardy Boys came back at WrestleMania. You can have this fantastic surprise where Nikki and Brie come down and add themselves into this match. Next up, I would have John Cena take on heel Bobby Roode. Now, this would take quite a bit of building, but I do think heel Bobby Roode is one of the best characters that NXT had recently. I don't like how he's turned face now. I would have him go back as a heel. And I think a big win over John Cena would really help his character. There would need to be a lot in the build here. Maybe Bobby Roode would talk trash about John Cena's relationship with Nikki Bella. Maybe he would talk trash about his films. I'm sure he would say his films aren't glorious or what, things along those lines. But I really would build towards John Cena versus Bobby Roode, and I do think they could put on a very good match. We are really getting towards the top of the card now. Next up, we've got Sasha Banks versus Bayley. This would be no holds barred. take the chains off, build up the booking so that they're at each other's throats all the time, and so let them go at it. No holds barred, no DQ, no count out. We have to have a winner, and I really would love to see how that would play out. 2 matches to go, and I can tell you that this would be a co-main event. I would have the commissioners versus the GMs. I would have Shane McMahon and Stephanie McMahon take on Paige and Kurt Angle. And I know what you're going to say. You're going to say Paige can't wrestle anymore, and I hear you. So what I would do is I would make it so that Stephanie McMahon forces Paige into that match. She's like, you have to wrestle this match. There's no way out. But at the actual show, Paige finds a replacement. Last minute, someone that is willing to step in. Maybe Paige resigns as GM temporarily, and that's how she gets round it. So she resigns, and her replacement is a very good friend of Paige's. Her replacement is someone that can't stand Stephanie McMahon. Her replacement would get one of the biggest wrestling pops ever. AJ Lee. AJ Lee would come down as the new SmackDown Live GM, and as a result would be in this match, and we would get Shane McMahon, Stephanie McMahon versus AJ Lee and Kurt Angle. What a match that would be. I don't think there's any way you would get CM Punk involved, because you could get Kurt Angle to stand down and have CM Punk in that match as well, but I think we're now reaching. I mean, I think I'm reaching anyway with AJ Lee, but still, if you couldn't do AJ Lee, then Paige could always step down and have someone like Naomi or Natalia, or maybe an NXT talent like Shayna Baszler, or maybe someone like that could take her place. I think there's enough there to make this interesting. But that brings me to my main event. This would be the big match of the night, and it would be The Undertaker versus Randy Orton. But not just any match. Loser leaves WWE. Loser leaves WWE. So it's got a lot on the line. I really think that would be a fantastic match. You'd keep it short. Obviously, you'd work a lot with Undertaker. He's looked a little bit slow in recent matches, which is totally understandable. This is no criticism. I'm comparing him to when he was like in his 30s. So, of course, he will have slowed down. But, yes, I'm sure that there could be enough here to make this a fantastic match. No idea who wins. In fact, let me know who you think would win in the comments below. I would love to know what you think about that card. Would you change it? Would you have any different matches? Let me know. Are you excited for SummerSlam? Don't forget, I've got my predictions coming up at the end of this video. Awesome, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. And hopefully, see you again next time. Bye for now.